jump started. So I'm going to start sharing my screen as well. We've got a decent amount of updates to get through today. So try and get a move on. And here we are. Okay, folks, welcome. Numbers are ticking up nice and quickly today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my little updates and get those out of the way. So as usual, welcome everyone. We are recording today's session. We are also live streaming across social media. So if you have any issues with Zoom or you get disconnected, you can go and watch there. You can go and watch back at your convenience on our YouTube channel. As always, we are going to have some company and product updates for you from our amazing team. We have Andrew and Emily giving us some updates today, and then we're going to move into a Q&A session. So feel free to use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen to write out your questions. We have a couple of people in chat there to try and help assist with questions throughout the session. We'll also have ability for you to come on stage at the end, so you can use the reaction button at the bottom and then the raise hand button in there to let us know that you want to come on stage. So without further ado, I'm going to move over to letting Pierre take the stage.
Still with a fantastic intro on the entire disclaimer. That's longer than anything. Andrew is actually not here today with us. He's actually returning from York, where yesterday with a lot of members of the direct team, they were at the Boostly Bash. So Emily will be giving some direct updates that we know you all love and crave. For me, I just wanted to start with the winter update, and I'm not talking about ours here. I'm really talking about Airbnb's winter update that I'm sure you've been following along. And it seems to me that it's particularly a more host-focused release. Remember last time when there was this big, let's call it a disaster, where there were those categories that were being released and not really showing that. That's basically part of the cycle of release. For the winter release, I think they've really made a bit more effort to help hosts be on Airbnb fundamentally. I think that's what it's all about. There are a few features that I wanted to highlight. I think the guest favorite, you are probably going to be seeing more and more on some of your listings in coming weeks. New earnings dashboard is great, but yeah, my first where I wanted to draw your attention is basically on the pricing visibility feature coming soon, which is basically very interesting from a strategy standpoint. So, right now, Airbnb has this guest-only fee and this host-only fee. You need to spend 5 minutes on social media to realize which one is a favorite from host. Don't use the host-only fee code because basically it will be bundled in your nightly rate, and your guests are going to see your property being more expensive than it actually is on their Airbnb search results. And that's a big problem for the adoption of the host-only fee, which basically has a fantastic bonus for Airbnb, is that the guests do not see the service fee, and the host, even though they get to see it, is basically going to be, it's better, especially for the professionalization of hosts, because all the software connected host, it's really a lot easier for software products to actually go with the host only fee. And that's why there's this requirement that software connected hosts, unless they are in the USA in particular, are not required to move to the host only fee. Basically, it's an opportunity also to tell me that Hospitable doesn't count as a software connected host. It's only for technical property management software, like any other competitors. You know about it because you don't have access to your calendar on Airbnb if you are a software connected host. That new feature with the pricing visibility, I think it's giving a fighting chance, because giving that visibility to host will allow hosts to see how much Airbnb is really charging the guest for every night that you're pricing. And as a result, you would probably be more incentivized to move to the host-only fee, because you'd realize it's actually cheaper to use the host-only fee on multiple times rather than using the guest or the split fee between host and guest. And that's kind of the incentive that is behind this pricing visibility. By making it clear, making it transparent, you probably would go for what is cheaper to your guest, and ultimately make it a little bit easier for guests to compare apples to apples. Still going to be very much a work in progress. We are not yet at a time when Airbnb is ready to make it required for all hosts to use the host-only fee of 15%. The next feature I wanted to talk about is comparing prices. Now, that's also one of the things that's dragging along from when you see hosts on social media, is that smart pricing is probably the one thing you advise very consistently to stop immediately if you are a new starting host. And that, honestly, to me, seems like a very good call because smart pricing is really there to defend and protect the interests of the OTA, in this case, Airbnb, with basically making it more likely that guests will book again on Airbnb rather than for hosts to extract the maximum rate that they can get depending on the seasonality and depending on availability in the space. So this comparing prices means that you will be able to see sometime later the rates from comparable properties directly in your calendar as you're adjusting. So that's really, again, for hosts that are not distributing on multiple channels and therefore are not using a software to push their prices, that they would probably be incentivized to push their prices down a little bit. So you see in the example, it's basically you have a night rate at $214, and you have a range of 173 to 272. It's rather wide. I would be curious to see how that works in practice and if it's more likely to price the host the nights up or down whenever it's being released. Now, did you notice anything else that was released in a winter update? Have you talked about it, maybe? The next one is smart locks. And I have to tell you, yes, I'm actually very happy about it because it's very challenging to be dealing with something so simple in such a complex way. That when the guest is checking in, they would check the address, they would check the Wi-Fi, they already have access to this information through the Airbnb app, and having the check-in code is directly on that app as you're about to check in feels really great. And it feels like a job of an OTA, or like Airbnb, a booking channel, to really make the entry to a property that you booked over on the internet super easy and super secure. Now, there are a lot of questions, and I think a lot of you have raised them already on our Facebook group. Will Airbnb maintain it, or will that be the case of vendors? And the question here is rather important because vendors have a reputation. They have a skin in the game, whereas Airbnb's revenue is not going to be affected if basically they don't do a good job of smart lock integration. There may be cancellations, but those would have happened anyway. Airbnb is not going to become a smart lock integrator overnight. It's basically not going to make sense for the economics. So I'm very curious to see from a technical standpoint, who is in charge of fixing the bugs? Is that going to be on Airbnb side, which has an entire product and a very busy roadmap on their own, or would that be the side of vendors, which may be working with smaller teams, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those teams are not going to be efficient at squashing bugs and integration problems as they come up. That also means that connectivity is a commodity. If you've seen the property management software space, you've seen a lot of vendors announcing their smart lock integration during this year, and there are still some more to come, well, basically, which are lagging behind. I believe that connectivity to a smart lock is a complete commodity. If your PMS is charging for it for the simple feature of pushing your codes to your locks, I think there really is an opportunity for you to move elsewhere. Now, that doesn't really is the case for Hospitable, but what is really going to be an add-on product is the dashboard. So basically having a list of all your devices connected and being able to manage your properties, to manage your code, to manage your codes, and manage your locks directly within either property management software or lock integrator. And I'm very happy for what we have on the roadmap because it's exactly what we want to be working on with a device dashboard that's going to give you more visibility and more control over your listing, over your smart locks, over your devices. Connectivity is a commodity, control is really not. And obviously another question that I'm particularly interested about is how would it work for the number of hosts that are listing on Airbnb, on Vrbo, on Booking.com, or even on the direct booking websites, because they already have some integration with smart locks, and it can get very messy if you have more integration with the same smart locks. Can cause also a bit of a security problem. Now, I have very little insight into what's going to happen in particular, but it seems like the Airbnb's team is very smart, and they want to anticipate, to basically make sure that you can, as hosts that are connected through a software, your guests can still benefit from the smart lock integration that's already existing. And that's made easier because all the software providers that are existing in the space are actually all using exactly the same integration. And I kid you not, Operto and Remote Lock are also starting to use that same vendor, which is SIEM. So that's a huge success for them. From what I understand, Airbnb is going to work on their own lock management outside of that vendor, but all the PMS are basically using the same infrastructure. So I think it can be useful to provide a flow for you using that PMS, so that software that's already integrated with SIEM. Why not share your access to your account to SIEM and not deal with over connection and all? Obviously, what would be fantastic and we'll be ready for it is pushing the codes. And I think that's very likely to happen this way. We'd be very happy to push the access codes of a smart lock for a given reservation that Hospitable will be managing end to end, but then push that over to Airbnb so that it can be made visible on Airbnb's app and obviously for the guests there on top of the additional messaging layer. And I think that would be super easy. Now, the last thing, what is the rest of the industry doing? As much as you hear about Airbnb having a roadmap, facilitating the guest experience, or doing something a bit different, or improving the host product, including AI to break out your pictures into rooms, etc., it's silence everywhere else. And that's the one OTA that I believe I really like because they're really smart. They are working on one mission, and that's really working on having that captive supply. That's their job. They want to have an exclusive supply in the tens of millions of listings. And they are working really hard to develop a software that's actually making it a lot easier to host without having to use another software. And for them, that's really great. For us, it's also good because it's by expanding the scope of their products, there's always going to be a long tail of users that want to personalize, want to do things differently, are not going to be supported exactly in the right way. And that's where Hospitable is always been ready for. And Airbnb has a good track record of actually releasing more features and more products that are really satisfying for us to be working. And then comes a time when they need to professionalize, they need to distribute to more channels. And that typically is where you need to have a middle ground as a software to distribute and not completely hijack all your workflows. So I'll be having a talk with Thibaut from PriceLab, for Philip from Future Stay, and also Mark Simpson from Boothly about the winter update in a few weeks. You've received the invite over your email, and I will share a lot more basically on that winter update and what should other OTAs maybe be doing to catch up. On that, I will leave it to Emily, who is basically going to do our best impersonation of Andrew, who's currently traveling after a very busy night in New York, of all places.
Hey, okay, I can't do an Andrew impersonation, so I'm not even going to try. But I'm excited to be here because Andrew has prepared some really exciting updates. The Direct team has been working super hard, so I'll share them with you. Okay, let's start with direct property search. So this is really great. This is live for all Hospitable sites. You can enable this in your direct site settings. What this does is allow you to search for multiple different properties, search by availability and guest count on your site. We might be having an issue with our next slide, but Miles, could you click forward and see if that GIF is playing? Because, I think it's working. Okay, cool. So let's let this GIF play while I talk about the specifics of this. So again, this is live. You can enable this in your direct site settings now. What we're working on now, or the direct team is working on now, is making this available as a widget. So you can actually embed this on your non-Hospitable sites. So if you've already invested in a Boostly site, or if you've already invested in a custom direct booking site of your own and want this functionality on that site, we're working on giving you a widget so you can do just that. So that's going to be really cool. Next, Google Vacation Rentals for non-Hospitable sites. When we started on the journey to list on Google Vacation Rentals, we thought we needed to maintain control over the site. So we started by only pushing our Hospitable site to Google Vacation Rentals. Well, we've since learned that we can also push custom sites there as well. So we're working on that now, and that's going to allow you guys to give us the URL to your custom site, and we will push that to Google Vacation Rentals so that when your listing is discovered or your property is discovered on Google, instead of pointing them to a Hospitable direct site, we can point them to the custom site that you've heavily invested in and you have a lot of creative control over, and you want to point people there. So also more styling options for widgets. So right now our widgets only have a couple different styling options, which align with the site templates that we have available today. And so we're hoping that by November 30th, we're going to be able to launch with more styling options so that you can create widgets that actually align with the design of the custom sites that you have if you're using custom sites. Cool. So on this little GIF, I want to point out this first box right here that says Accord. Now, Miles, if you could go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the location editor. So we have this really cool thing that's part of the direct property search called a location editor. This is not a filter, but this gives you the ability to put other locations on your map so that guests can actually see things that are around your properties. So again, it's not a filter, so we're not going to like filter out your properties if they aren't in that specific location, but it'll allow you to, I don't know, put some like cool neighborhood spots that people might be going to visit. You can nest those up to 3 levels deep. Now, the most obvious use case is what's in this picture, this screenshot here, where you might have like a state, a city, and then some neighborhoods. But I was talking to Andrew earlier, and he mentioned another really cool use case, which might be having like area hospitals. If you have properties that you're aiming to get rented out by traveling nurses. So that would be really cool. They could search for available properties and then see all the nearby hospitals, or select the hospital that they're going to work at and then see the nearby properties that you offer. So yeah, super excited about that. Again, this is all live today, so you guys can go ahead and get this set up today in your direct site settings. All right, other direct updates. Direct Premium is now live for UK properties. So that's what Andrew and the rest of the direct team were traveling to York yesterday to announce. So if you have a property in the UK, you can now make use of Direct Premium, which is super exciting. Also, pet fees. If you allow pets at your property, you can add in your direct pricing settings a price per pet. And that's basically going to look to the guest like they're adding a pet as a guest. So in the widget, they go say 2 adults, 1 kid, and 2 pets, for example. They'll see the fee transparently there, so you can collect pet fees in that way. And ad hoc charges are now available as well, supported by both Stripe and also people using Direct Premium through like a pay by link feature. Man, this direct team is busy. Okay, next page. So their focus now is all the updates around non-hospitable sites. So like I mentioned, that property search widget, and also pushing those non-hospitable direct sites to Google Vacation Rentals. The next big piece is tax filing and remittance. So I want to be clear, this is not live now, but we've always collected taxes for you, but then we give those to you and you're responsible for remitting those in your area. So the team has recently taken a look, and there are several locations where we've reached the nexus that was required for us to be able to start remitting taxes. So our team has started taking the steps to go through that process. So again, we're not remitting taxes for you today, but we're starting to go through the process to understand what that will look like and how we can do that and what locations we can do that in moving forward. We're also working on an improved auto-host guest profile view in the inbox. So if you're using Direct Premium, you'll be able to have more insights into the guest and see what that guest is all about before you decide whether or not you accept or reject that listing. And also looking into Direct Premium in Canada. We're working on getting the tax compliance set up, which is a little bit tricky. But once that's all sorted out, we can potentially launch Direct Premium in Canada. And then after all of that, which is a lot, Direct's focus will be specifically on some features which are aimed at people who are doing midterm rentals. So several town halls ago, I know we had a long conversation about this. I think this is going to be a really exciting release. One is the ability to do quotes for your guest. So this is, a guest calls you, they say they want to stay from this amount of time. You can actually generate a quote for them and give it to them for them to accept. So this will work really well for people who are doing longer term stays or midterm stays. The next is scheduled payments, so that if a guest is booking for a long period of time, you don't necessarily have to collect that payment when they book. You can choose to collect it, on the first of the month throughout the duration of their stay or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what the specifics of that will look like, but that's something that the team will focus on next, as well as e-signature for rental agreements and the ability to share promotion codes that are a percentage. Right now we have promo codes that are just like a fixed dollar amount, so you can give like $20 off, but we're looking at what it might be like to offer like a 5% off promo code in addition to the fixed dollar amounts. Okay, that was all the direct stuff. If you have any questions, post them in the Q&A. Kevin from our direct team is here answering support questions in the chat. We also have our other Kevin from the core team answering questions as well. So if there's direct specific questions that normally Andrew might answer, please put those in the Q&A and we'll try to take care of you there if we can't answer them during the Q&A session. Okay, on to our core product. So a couple of things to point out that we fixed this week. I have animal themed emojis on this slide. One, as you know, we've been working a lot on our building out a metrics dashboard, which is still in progress. As we're working on that, we're finding some like little quick fixes that we can do with the existing metrics export that's like impossible to not do while we're in there. One of those things being the metrics export was sometimes exporting duplicated reservations if that listing had a co-host. And so we've gone ahead and fixed that. So now that won't be duplicated, because I know many of you guys are actually using that to create your own metrics, your own reporting. And so a duplicated reservation is not cool. So we've gone ahead and fixed that. The next thing is about smart locks. So we were seeing some cases where smart lock codes were not based on the last 4 digits of the phone number, even if that setting was enabled and we had the guest phone number. And so what we realized is we were actually kind of like moving a little bit too fast. We would get the reservation and then we would generate the smart lock code before we were able to actually process that reservation and see the guest phone number. So we've just implemented an intentional 5-minute delay because we saw that for the most part, we were able to get all that reservation information within that first 5 minutes. So you'll get a reservation and then 5 minutes later, we'll make the smart lock code to increase the likelihood that we have processed the guest phone number at that point and can actually match it to the last 4 digits of their phone number. So in that case, we're just slowing down a little bit. Okay, next slide. So this is about the always on code communication. So in our last town hall, Alyssa shared some details of this with you guys, and it was launched, I think last week for beta users who have backup codes enabled. So this feature is really only available to, well, we have a lot of beta users, but for those of you who have actually toggled on backup codes. And what's happening here is that we've taken a little bit of control to always send a code communication with the guest 10 minutes before that code is set to be active on the lock. We are working really, really hard to increase our success rate on smart lock codes. And so this is one way that we sought to do this. This was, again, released to beta users, and you guys have given us your feedback on Facebook and in other places. So thank you for that. This is what beta is for, right? It's a beta feature. You get to use it. You get to play around with it. And if there's any concerns or feedback you have the opportunity to share that. So we've taken all of your feedback, and the team is meeting this Friday to see if there's any tweaks they can make to that to this feature so that it behaves a little bit more like you guys are expecting. We heard from hosts on our Facebook group that you'd really love to be able to toggle this on or off. Right now, if you have backup codes enabled, like this is tied to that, so it's not a separate feature. We've also heard that you want to be able to customize the language in the message and not send the message without lock specific instructions. So this was a really interesting one. If you have like a weird lock and you want to include like press home first and then jiggle the knob or whatever it is, you wanted to include a little bit more context in that message. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your feedback there. We'll be able to update you guys in the next town hall with what's been decided, how we're going to improve that feature for you guys moving forward. Okay. New apps. It's been a while since I've gotten to share some new apps, so I'm excited about that. We have 3 new apps today. Some of these apps have actually existed for a while, but because of how our public API works today, people can build integrations with us without getting our permission, right? So many of our partners have built these things, and they've actually been out in the wild for a while. And we're just forming like an official partnership with them to announce them and share them with you. So first, I'll talk a little bit about StayFi. So this is branded Wi-Fi. When your guests are in your property, when they go to connect to the Wi-Fi, they can give their email. This is really cool because this isn't just the email of the person who booked, but it's the email of anybody who gets on your Wi-Fi. So you actually start collecting emails of, the entire family who's there, not just the person who booked. And StayFi is actually offering a really cool deal for people who are using Hospitable, where they've made their email marketing tool free for your first 200 contacts. So I think previously or normally this is a $15 a month add-on to be able to market to up to 200 contacts, and they've made this free. So if you're using Hospitable and StayFi together, there's nothing you need to do, no codes or anything like that. StayFi will know if you have that integration and make those first 200 contacts free for you. The next is VR Platform. It's an automated bookkeeping and accounting tool for the vacation rental industry. VR Platform is formerly known as Simplify. So if you've heard that word, they're the same thing, but VR Platform is what's kind of targeted for hosts for this automated bookkeeping product. So that's another app we're talking about today. And last but certainly not least, we have Buoy, another automated dynamic pricing tool for you to look into. So check those out. Again, if there's any other integrations you guys would like to see, please let us know. You can drop them in the chat. I spend so much of my time talking to prospective partners who want to build integrations to Hospitable. So I'd love to be able to reach out to companies that you guys share with us that maybe we don't know about yet and see if we can work together to get an integration built. Last but not least, we talked a little bit about feedback already, the great feedback that you guys have already shared. Here's a QR code for our Facebook group. We monitor this. It's filled with other Hospitable hosts. It's a really great place to share feedback and also like get ideas from other hosts, right? It's primarily kind of like a place for you to network, but we also see that too. And we take your feedback and hear your opinions on that. So scan that to request to join the Facebook group if you'd like to participate in that. And last but not least, another really great way to submit ideas and give feedback is from directly within Hospitable. So a couple of days ago, we launched a new little like add-on within this messenger. So if you click on help and see the little icon in the bottom right, when it pops up, you have this opportunity to give feedback right within Hospitable. That is going to email our product team, give us the opportunity to communicate about that feedback that you've shared. And the cool thing is you can see existing feedback that's been shared by other hosts. You can upvote stuff, and you can actually see our public roadmap. Now, the cool thing about our public roadmap is with this tool that we've implemented, it's actually like literally tied to like our development tickets. So like when it's shipped, it's going to actually like show it's shipped here. So this is like a truly up-to-date public roadmap for you guys to be able to see what we're working on today, what we're planning on working on next. And yeah, we'll just have another great opportunity to get your feedback without you ever actually leaving the Hospitable app. So you can share that feedback with us as you think about it. All right, that's all I got. I think passing back off to Miles to kick off the Q&A.
Cool. Thank you very much, Emily. And that's right. So kicking off the Q&A, I've just noticed that we have a ton of messages in our chat. So I'll encourage folks that if you're asking questions in the chat, try to do them in the Q&A. It's just a lot easier for us to keep track of them and make sure that we're answering all the questions. And also, as always, we welcome you to raise your hand. If you're interested in coming on stage to ask a question, you can use the reaction button at the bottom, and there's a raise hand button in there. You can come on stage, ask us any question you like on our current roadmap and anything in the works. Okay.
Okie dokie. Just for everyone in the chat going wild on Furnish Finders, I just sent an email on LinkedIn again to Brian as CEO of Furnish Finder. I think if you contact Furnish Finder, and that's the way it works, and say that you're going to cause a riot, it can work. I don't know. I want to thank Ben, who is a mutual customer of Furnish Finder and Hospitable, who has introduced us. Is there in the same LinkedIn chat. I can say that I wish that Brian, and I'm sure that Brian will take my call sometime soon and can book some time with me to talk about anything that we can do together. It's really, I think we just need to have something working. It's not complicated. I think we can really help Furnish Finder customers, guests, and hosts, as well as making sure that the guest experience is going to be completely streamlined to Hospitable. Okay, yeah, we do have plenty of questions on chat, and indeed the problem is that we're also replying there. So it's kind of, we give two incentive. Is there anyone that's raising their hand so far? Miles?
Not yet, but I think
Not yet.
we can probably pull out a few Q&A. I know Emily spotted one already. Emily, if you want to jump in.
Emily has spoken enough.
I have.
My God, you can really take a break. So what do we have? So let's get with the Q&A, and I'm gonna try and be a relatively decent CEO and answer them. Now, unfortunately, there is a guy that's really knowledgeable about everything direct, and he's currently not here. So I know he deserves a raise. It's really amazing. So Brandon, I'm going to answer your question, read your question aloud. The upcoming direct e-sign features, would that be a DocuSign partnership or sign now, etc.? Just trying to decide if getting an account somewhere prior to that going live is worth it, or if we don't need to do anything, etc. It will be fully through Hospitable. I can tell you, as Andrew's boss at times, everything that you have on experience as direct premium is, at least I can tell you for that, is completely bundled. So we do the integration for you. We don't request to have any account that you integrate with. And I think that's basically the way it goes. So it's a cost to us. It's not a cost to you in particular when it comes with rental agreements. I don't know about the details for the engineering team so far about it, but you can expect that it will be more like upload a PDF, get something working. That's where I think the complexity is having an editor where you can point on where you would like to get a signature and all. So I'm curious to the team how they are planning of working it out. For now, don't take any decision based on what might or might not happen. I think there will be plenty of conversation before we are there to talk to you about.
Cool.
Aaron,
we do have a hand raised now. So
we do have a hand raised. Aaron Cap, name is familiar. Hello.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Fine, absolutely. You seem to be. Are you fishing on weekends? Maybe not just on weekends.
No.
Your avatar is a very big fish.
I wish I was fishing on the weekends, but we're busy. I think the AI, though, is going to get me back on the fishing rod. So I really appreciate the time saving and how articulate the messaging can be when there's times, we have about 50 properties. And so, on a Friday, it can get pretty overwhelming with fairly, simple questions that AI really tackles well in a very, I would say, positive and kind manner, where sometimes I could be a little bit more terse. And so I think it's been a nice feature. Plus, we also have some personnel now who helps us with messaging in the evenings and weekends. So here's my question.
Yeah.
It's with regard to how the AI is responding to certain comments. And I don't know if this is something that we have control over, or developers have control over or not, but there's a fundamental flaw in it apologizing for inconveniences. In some kind of basic business and relationship classes that I've taken, apologies really put the onus on me and my team, when in fact some of these issues may actually be guest centric, or just completely out of everybody's control. And I think this is maybe more of a question built with an encouragement or recommendation to avoid all of the apologies and say, thank you for your patience with connectivity issues with Wi-Fi, rather than, I'm so sorry that the Wi-Fi is acting up, because I don't control the utility. If I was the ISP, I would absolutely apologize for that, but I'm not. So it's a minor thing, but it actually, I think, could help set the tone for maybe a more positive experience on the guest side. And I'll just leave it at that and let you guys kind of
that's fantastic. I think Emily would be able to provide even more color than I do. What I would say is basically there is something really fantastic at an American not wanting to be too apologetic and saying that to a French person. So that's funny. Second, I think you're totally right. So we wish we could do more on AI. So the feature that we've released, I think a few days ago, is really, so we upgraded our GPT model integration. So we moved to GPT-4 Turbo. That allows us to provide more context and to have more accurate replies. But there's still a lot what we want to do. Last week, we talked really about an ambitious plan, and I really cannot wait to have the engineering resources to make that happen. It's going to be automatic. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be very excited. I'm just very happy for the product managers at Logify and Hospitable that are listening to us right now, because they will announce in a few weeks that they've upgraded to GPT-4 Turbo. I hope that by that time we'll be able to do something even better on what's really defining what's state of the art for the industry. I totally hear you. I think there is something that we can work on the tone of voice, and really shut down on the apology request. But what I think could be a better way is you say in a natural language what you would like to be the tone of your messages. Even better, we can tell you what you want to be the tone of messages to be, because we have access to all the messages, we know your reply, and we can basically brief the AI on what the tone of voice should be moving forward, but you can still adjust it and have more control.
Cool.
I'm still, impressed by some hosts that, for example, can have a pirate branded listing. You don't want to communicate to your guests in the same way. If you can, if you really want to stay on brand, you want to have some R's and some, something that I could not do myself. And I think that could be an opportunity to have a lot of fun and really make the guest experience on Airbnb funny again. And I think the AI is basically making that both trivial and really, really scalable. So yeah, we'll have a lot more coming. Did you see? So I have a question for you, Aaron. Since you're a user on the AI, have you noticed any change, positive or negative, in the past week on whatever you want to suggest in your reply?
That's a good question, and I'm going to have to thank you for your patience that I don't have.
You're very sorry for the inconvenience, is what you're saying.
Sorry for the inconvenience. No, I have been working on a couple other projects for our business and have stepped away from a lot of the guest relations for the past 2 weeks, with the exception to maybe some commentary in the evenings. But without trying to take over what you're about to speak to, I do want to add one more point, and maybe this has been addressed somewhere else and it can be answered in such a way. But I also noticed that when I'm using AI on a mobile device, and sometimes even on a desktop, is that it appends the message and doesn't actually complete the closing. It just kind of cuts it off. And so I'm not sure if that's something that we're not doing correctly on our end, or if it's like a character limitation. But anyway, so
and there is also somebody on iPhone saying in the chat that it cuts out in the middle of sentence. So no, that's interesting. I think we can look it up if there's something specifically going on in mobile.
But I haven't noticed the differences because I haven't been there to perceive it.
No problem. That's the thing. When you have 50 properties, you have other people in the chat for you.
Yeah,
no problem. Thank you, Aaron. Always welcome for sharing your views and all. And I think we have
Before we do that, I'm just going to jump to a Q&A that Emily pulled out. So just on the StayFi offer, we had a couple of questions around if that's for existing and new StayFi customers, and it is. So even if you're already a StayFi customer, as long as you're integrated with Hospitable, then you will get that offer first 200 contacts free. There's also a help article on our help center, obviously, and there's reductions for tiers above that as well. So even if you're above 200 contacts, you can save a little bit of money there too. Cool. So now we will go to Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony. I know Anthony a bit more than other customers because I've actually had dinner with him, right?
Hey,
this, Anthony?
What's up? Yes,
good.
Yes. How you doing, man? Good to be here. I'm curious about updates to the mobile app specifically, and I sent this in I put this as a feature request. It's actually in the chat now.
Yes,
and it's something
it seems that you want to claim back 45% of real estate on your inbox screen.
Yeah,
and you're totally right. It seems complete bonkers if I'm honest, because it's not exactly on a mobile that you will be benefiting from those kind of messages. So go ahead, ask your question, make your case.
The question just was, are there any roadmap? I didn't see anything specifically about mobile app updates in the roadmap. I mean, your UX is excellent. This is just something that kind of like dawned on me recently. I mean, yes, it's one half of a scroll away to kind of get a full inbox view. But if that was a toggle to just turn off because I know what I'm doing, I don't need, have the filters at the top still, but everything else.
The toggle. That's terrible. That's even worse.
No, I mean in the back end. In the back end. but just have have the search box and the filter kind of be the top portion, and then the rest is all the messages in there, and that's the default view, or perhaps a selection of a default view. So the question is, hey, will you do that? And also, are there other updates around mobile app that you guys are working on?
Yeah, so I'm checking that right now. I mean, obviously you're scrolling the page and you're basically there, but I can see the point. If you want to have a high productivity based application, you're going to need to make sure that the real estate is being used wisely. It's not the case, like simple, even if you see the menu here, you should have the whole message that basically is just there on the top and basically maximizing having most of there. I think there is something that we can do for those kind of messages. That are basically informational to make sure that they don't show up on mobile, especially some inbox in particular seems very clear because it's going to be a high productivity page. I think the situation may be a little bit different if you wanted to explore your messaging rules on mobile, even though to be fair, you can make absolutely the same case. So yeah, I think we can discuss that internally on whether we want to. I did completely on mobile, but I need to check the numbers because it's all about helping users on mobile get onboarded, and some users are really mobile first. And so with that little bit of content, they would be very limited. On the general question of the mobile app, I was about to drop that one again. Told no, I would love to really have some team working on that. Ben with our product engineering lead and has really been creating every pixel that you see on the app now so far. Really is really as frustrated as you are about the situation of the mobile application. I think he's been working with some people on the back end, on the behind the scenes to really keep it afloat. I would love to do that. It's just yet again one more thing on top of everything else. But I find that mobile apps is probably far more compelling because it's going to be far more used by the personas that we're after, of which you know very well is exactly you, Anthony. And so that's basically rather interesting for us to be working on that. For now, yeah, I'm trying to make work. So for example, for new products that we want to release, like the metrics dashboard, like a device dashboard, make sure that they're also going to be mobile first, so they're really going to be accessible from the mobile application. I think from a mobile app standpoint, what you would like us to do is really set it on fire, and we agree with it. It just becomes then a long project, and that's the part that we're never able to dedicate the resources, particularly on that, because there are so many other things to do that are a bit more important. So right now, Ben is really working on everything direct related, managing your templates and design, and really working out to make sure that it stays up to date and live and up honestly at this point. At the same time as improving on the designs and making sure that the new features are being released quickly. And that's been the block. So yeah, please keep pushing for the mobile app. I think I would love to have a time when Ben can be showing up on this town hall and hear you directly and have a bit of the pain himself a little bit. So yeah, Anthony, you're running a presidential campaign. You can upload the feature and reclaim 45% of your mobile inbox screen, real estate. Just click on the link. It's well, I would love to do that sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Good chatting.
Good.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Anthony. So next on stage, we have RR.
Yes. RR. Is that something because of the pirate talking before? Hey, Lo. What's up? I don't think we hear you.
Yes. Well, I'm from Lima, Peru.
Lima. Fantastic.
Yes, Lima. And we are a growing market. We're emerging here in Latin America.
Yeah.
Growing very fast, planning to expand. But I have one issue because Stripe is not working here. So we need to integrate the payment processing. I was wondering if you are planning to offer other options for emerging markets like ours.
Yeah, I would turn to Emily if you're here, Emily, because I think that maybe the point of charge automation which is an integration that we've been integrating with in the past. I don't know if they will be able to support that case.
I don't think in the exact way that you're looking to do it,
Yeah.
but we've heard that before, that people want more payment processors for direct basic. But I don't know of any like specific roadmap plans, but we can try to figure it out and get back to you.
Yes, I've heard that PayU works here, right? PayU Latam. So you can check it out too. I think other property manager softwares use that one.
Okay, which one? Can you write it down in the chat, because I'm not sure I heard it right.
Sure.
Because I think there are very local vendors, especially in South America. It's not very consolidated. PayU, yeah, okay, got it. It's very, very challenging. Stripe is there just for the sake of convenience. They have great APIs, and we can work with them easily. It's very easy to get onboarded, as well for vendors. But yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, thank you for the shouts. We'll see what we can do. It's a bit challenging for us right now, but yeah, check again in a few months. It's gonna have to be on the roadmap, of course, if we can do this ourselves.
Thank you very much. There's a couple more questions around Furnish Finder PC asking who we're sending to. So maybe you just want to announce
let me refresh my LinkedIn. Before I do anything. So we have another question on the chat, which basically is who should they reach out to? It seems that there is a phone number if you'd like to talk. What I'm looking for is really somebody to reach out to Brian so that he can book a meeting. He has already the link. You just need to click on it. And then I will be opening my calendar by all means to see what we can do together. Go ahead. What are some other questions?
No, that was it. I just make sure that we announced it for everyone because it keeps going up. So
pressing live for an answer from the CEO of Furnish Finder. It doesn't have to be a CEO. It can be anyone working on integrations. The thing is, the challenge that I see, and really I've been working with more alternative accommodation for the next roadmap for direct in particular. Is really that there is simply no integrations that is working for most of those vendors. So there is one for Niche Finder, and I think it's going to have to be something almost custom or very low tech. I've been also looking at Peerspace for more hourly rentals. So that's very controversial, but they spend a lot of money on compliance to make sure that they avoid what you're thinking about. And they are basically, there is also no integrations, no API, so no way to push the inventory of our customers and no way to integrate on the messaging or maybe even going as much as the payment processing if you already have a direct booking website, which ideally would be a fantastic experience for guests on Furnish Finders or other platforms. Is really like go on, the messaging should be consolidated on their inbox. It could be just an email, that's fine. And then we can generate a link for them to book and pay for an equivalent to a direct booking. That's also very aligned with our roadmap. So what Emily was talking about earlier, and what Andrew has been talking in previous channels, like having quotes, working on more like scheduled payments, collecting payments from guests on a schedule, is really all aligned on facilitating a mid-term rental as much as early as we can. But yeah, we'd love to do it with Furnish Finder. Okay.
Thank you. So we have Jacques with their hand raised.
Jacques. Hello, Jacques.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. So my question was back to the mobile app situation. So I know you're talking about, investing more time and energy into the app in the future. And I think, out of all the competitors, I would say that Hospitable and Guesty for hosts specifically are the two ones that are the most mobile friendly. The rest of them don't have very much mobile functionality at all. So I appreciate that Hospitable has that functionality.
And that's very flattering, because obviously the predecessor of Guesty for hosts, your porter, the guy in the co-founding team was extremely hard on making it a mobile first, when literally he would not jump the bandwagon. So still nice, but I mean, there is a lot of work ahead of us, of course.
Definitely. Yeah. Guest for Host was mobile first for sure. But what I'm noticing here on Hospitable coming from Guest for Host is that, it does have all the functionality that we need on mobile, which is great. However, it's not truly designed natively.
No.
The navigation, like for example, is basically just a web app that's ported into a way to download it onto the native device. And so I often find myself needing like a back button or a way to quickly navigate to the previous screen. And I'm not really able to do that as you would typically on a native app. I find myself having to go back to the global navigation and navigate in like a more cumbersome way, which would not really be the case if the app was built natively. So we're just curious to know if you do plan to address that at some point.
Oh my God. We have done it already, actually. We've done a native app. That's the joke. I mean, we have a fantastic history of partnership with Apple. Turns out they suspended our app for a bit of time, and we didn't know really why. And based on the terms, basically, we thought, okay, maybe we should go and restrict really the usage to just what customers would need. And so we developed, I think, over a few days, a native mobile app that would do really just the inbox. Turns out that doesn't work. When you have your users that are already used to having a full-featured mobile application, there is always going to be a non-null and rather substantial part of our customers that are going to be very vocal on top of it, which means the cost to our support team that simply want to have that full-featured app as well, which actually means the mobile app revamp more challenging. I think the inbox or calendar is 1 hour scope, and it's relatively easier to achieve. The problem is redesigning on a native mobile app for everything that's guest experience, operation, and everything. We thought really that the point of a mobile application is going to be to have the inbox and to have the calendar doing it on the go. So a feature set that's not going to be the full feature web application. Turns out we've been bit pretty hard when we had this assumption. So I'm not feeling like trying again, and that makes the rollout of a mobile app a little bit more challenging based on that feedback we received.
Gotcha. Yeah,
but we'd love to. If there, so right now you're totally right. The mobile application is a web wrapper. It's the initial purpose of it was really just pushing notifications, because you could only do that through a mobile app. Now Apple has support for push notifications with the browser. So the reality of it is you could actually just now pin the website on as the bookmark or the home button, and basically you have exactly the same mobile application. The thing, is that it's probably, we've been talking to design agencies, to development agencies, to basically help us create an experience on mobile that we are not good at. Simply, that's not a skill set that we have in this company. And so we thought having some people that did that before is a good bet, but that basically means, we need to sacrifice something else as part of the roadmap. And that's
Thank you. I guess I'll just give one last closing statement as we finish this discussion. Thanks so much for answering my question, by the way. You mentioned the web wrapper. Figma is a popular tool that's widely adopted, as you probably know, and it is the same exact thing. The native Mac OS application for Figma is literally just a web wrapper, and they were able to build it in a way that feels native to the Mac OS operating system. So maybe you all can look into that and see what technologies they use and try to follow that same example when porting your web experience over to a native iOS application.
I think there was a choice set on the technology used for the, I wouldn't quote names because there were so many that were thrown around. Honestly, choosing the mobile framework, the mobile development framework, feels like the hardest decision that a CEO has to make in a tech company. Really, no joke. It was really like the biggest decision we seem to have made. And then in the end, to not use it. But I completely hear you, Jacques. We're gonna try and add that to our roadmap for 2024 as much as we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacques.
Thank you very much. So now we have Jay with a question. Welcome you on stage, Jay.
Hello, Jay.
Thank you. So I've been a hospital, I guess, customer, right, for probably 6 months now. with not a big size of listings, about 17 of them in the Cleveland area.
That's very good. You know, no one at Hospitable is gonna say, "Wow." He's gonna say, "Wow, that's the guy is really not growing." Really, a lot of our customers have just up to 2 properties, so that's really a core persona. So no problem. How can we
I
help you?
appreciate that. Now I'll tell you, hey, why am I a hospital customer, right? It was because of the integration, the pricing ability, and really the ability to diversify the listings versus just Airbnb. And I have found myself struggling to get it, especially the pricing aspect, just right. Like I set the pricing on Airbnb, and then whatever happens, booking is bad. I set it through booking with the markups, and now Airbnb is bad. Like I had several instances where people ended up paying like an 80% discount rate on a property. And I'm like, oh, golly, I thought that thing was going to work and it didn't work. So that has been really my struggle, like justifying, because I like everything that you guys are doing. I sit through these meetings as of today, and I'm like really impressed with how fast you guys move and how many awesome features are coming our way. Case in point, the location editor. I know that thing is going to be incredibly valuable to future guests, integration with StayFi and all of that. But on the other side, it's like I need help, and it's like 3 days until, right? and it's like, I'm pretty sure you guys know who we are as hosts. Like we don't just depend on hosting. Most of us, I assume, have like a full-time job, right? And so when we sit down and we do the whole modeling and simulation and see if I set this price here, is it gonna make sense on the other side, etc. It's like it's such a it's such an investment, not because it's a lot of time that we spend, but it is the only time that we have to do that is strategical thinking, and waiting 3-4 days or 2 at best to get an answer and a live person to help us through, at least me, that's my experience. It's in the least frustrating, and at most is like make us give up on that effort, right? And that shut things down. So
no,
it's
don't
kind
shut,
of a
don't shut anything down. It's not worth it. Just change software. No, really.
Yeah.
So I'm on your account. I think I've been finding your account, and I can basically get you a little bit of a troubleshooting situation. First of all, send us confirm that. Send your email over on the chat to host and panelist. What I think is setting it wrong is that your markup rates are probably not. Oh my god, the reactions. The markup rates that you have configured are probably not aligned with the reality of what you're having. Setting an Airbnb markup rate at 0%, a Booking.com at 5%, mean that basically, you get 5% higher rate on Airbnb it is. And there is a big difference out of Airbnb is going to charge you and how Airbnb is going to display the rates to the guest as well. So that is probably one factor that makes it complicated for us to reconcile rates all together. Let me check. So that's the one thing, is that your markup rate should really be how much money, how much of a percentage is Airbnb taking out of you from, I think, Booking is probably taking what, 15%?
15,
yeah. So that's your markup rate. That's 15%. You want to up your rate 15% for Booking.com, because otherwise you will, every time you set $100, it will actually be, you will be charged out of that amount. For Airbnb, that's host only or split fee, you basically get something different. So Jack is saying Booking actually charges 20%. So it depends. And there is a difference also on payment processing. Anyway, that's not 8 times of a difference. What's another thing on sync? So you have all the syncs, in particularly availability sync and pricing sync. So that means we are trying to reconcile, and we're trying to basically every 4.5 hours getting your rates from Airbnb, and we push them back over to your Booking.com account. So if you're trying to make it different on Booking.com, we will erase the rates based on Airbnb, and that will be with a 5% discount, etc. And that's 5% markup, which means you are every 4.5 hours, you're losing money of what you should get on Booking.com. change your markup rate. Again, I'm really making this case there. And the third thing is, why do you do it on Booking.com? Why do you do it on Airbnb? Do it really from our calendar. You should have. Have you done that? Yes, you have 2 properties on Booking.com, so you can do that on your properties there. You can push prices from the Hospitable calendar. It still boggles my mind that sometimes it's new and it's not. You don't realize that you can actually do that. We had the case in previous weeks in the tunnel, because at that point in time we will push the rates directly to Airbnb and to Booking.com.
So I've actually done that, and the results were not consistent with what it should be, and I think that has been my struggle. I'm not discounting everything that you're saying, and I'll definitely try again. But the best success I had was setting the 0 that is there now, because I could control on the other side. It's not ideal. Don't get me wrong. Like, I literally stopped advertising inside my listings, my direct booking, because of that. So I just have some regular guests that get like an incredible discount, but they are, like all the time here. So yeah, I don't, but again, my point is, if I wanted to talk to somebody, not you, but anyone that has that time to like, hey, let's test this out. Let's make sure that it is working. Like on booking.com, you're seeing there, I added a property yesterday. I go to booking.com, that property isn't available forever. It's available on Airbnb. It's available on Bookable, on Hospitable.
I think so. I think Kevin's on our support team. I think he's grabbed your email. I think he's going to reach out to you, and I think he's going to have that call.
Jay.
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to wrap up here. Unfortunately,
Kevin here. I'm from customer support. I grabbed your email. I'll definitely reach out to you after town hall, and then we can hop on a Zoom call, on 1-to-1, and go over everything there. I'd also suggest looking into some dynamic pricing as well. That would help out a lot, but we can talk about that more.
Absolutely.
On the Zoom
That's
call.
something that is recommended also plenty of times in the chat. And I kind of feel like I want to give a shout for the priority support, because yes, we know we're really working on making sure that everybody gets the right answer as fast as we can. And Kevin really knows how challenging it is, especially in the beginning of the month, at the beginning of every week. After the weekend, there is also the priority support, and that's for people that are basically jumping the queue. So that's basically something I would go to. We are responding faster to people that are really giving us the resources to do it, and they will be the first in line to also get phone support, and they also get access now to some WhatsApp channel to get it done. So they can get in touch with the support team on the go, and it's. Sorry to say that it's an add-on. It's basically the thing that's actually important. It's not even a money grab. I was checking. It's really still very few people that are paying for priority support. I'm not crying over that. It means there is more value for people who are getting priority support because it's very rare. And that means people from the support team, like Kevin, can jump first on those conversations and make sure that those are answered in a timely fashion. So that's great. You have a comment from Brian saying that you have an handsome beard, Kevin. Anyway, so yeah, please, there is a solution to every problem. I think I saw some of those. Definitely check out Price Labs or any other pricing engine. We have them all integrated, and we're very happy to have Buoy or something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right. On our new app store. Fantastic.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. The only final thing that I'll call out is our next event. PC mentioned at the start, so we have the rental scale-up conference, and PC is going to be taking part in. He's going to discuss the Airbnb winter release a little bit more. I am dropping a link to that in the chat now, so make sure to register that. It is a free event if you follow that link. And we'll include that in our YouTube description too, but we encourage you to check that out. Otherwise, our next event after that will be our town hall in 2 weeks' time, same time, same place. Thank you very much, everyone.